My name is Sarah, and I want to share the difficulties my husband Jake and I have faced in trying to have children. When we decided it was time to expand our family, we expected things to happen naturally. But unfortunately, several years passed and we were never able to conceive. Doctors diagnosed us with health problems that could make it difficult to conceive. As the years went by, I wasn't getting any younger, and still no children. At first, we were not anxious to go to the doctors and wanted to have a baby as everyone usually does, but after 6 months, I became nervous and constantly worried about it. So soon, the endless visits to specialists, laboratory tests, and medical procedures began. The first step was to meet with a gynecologist who discussed our medical history in detail and asked a lot of questions about our lifestyle and health. This was an important moment for us as we began to realize that our situation required serious investigation. Next, we underwent a comprehensive medical exam that included blood tests, a reproductive system, ultrasound, and a hormonal analysis. These procedures were physically and emotionally challenging. I felt a mixture of anxiety and hope, but also fear of possible diagnoses. We tried various methods and procedures, such as artificial insemination, hormone injections, and even embryo implantation attempts. Unfortunately, none of these attempts led to the desired result. Several attempts at artificial insemination did not bring us the results we wanted. Every time we heard about the failure, we felt bitterness and sadness. It was hard to cope with the disappointments and go through the emotional highs and lows associated with each procedure. Each time we hoped that things would get better and we were about to win, but the doctors were not comforted by the results. The test results revealed several potential causes that could have made it difficult to conceive. I had egg problems and irregular menstrual cycles, and Jake was found to have low sperm concentrations and low sperm motility. Difficulties and frustrations began to take their toll on our emotional and psychological makeup. We experienced grief, fear, and anxiety. Often, we felt inferior and doubted our ability to become parents. We tried every attempt, went to a marriage counselor, to fortune tellers, to church, traveled to other countries for healing water, whatever we could have tried. We spent many nights discussing our emotions and strategies, and it was a difficult time for our family. Jake was having a hard time getting over his initial notion of parenthood, and he was very afraid that someone else's child would not be able to fill his desire for a blood heir. So taking a child from an orphanage was not an option for us either. Jake and I decided that we needed to take a little break from all the stress and frustration of endlessly trying to conceive. We decided to go on vacation, hoping that the relaxation and change of scenery would help us recover and maybe even affect our ability to have a baby. We chose a beautiful place on the coast where we could enjoy the sun, the beach, and the peaceful atmosphere. We just tried to enjoy each other's presence and relax, forgetting about all the worries and expectations. I hoped that this atmosphere of love and peace would prove conducive to our possibility of having a baby. However, as the days went by, we realized that rest had failed to change our situation. There were still obstacles in our path to parenthood, and they did not disappear even amidst the beautiful scenery and tranquility. We faced a new frustration and realized that just resting wasn't going to solve our problems. It was painful to realize that even our mutual love, rest, and relaxation could not fix the physiological problems we were facing. We felt sadness, frustration, and despair, and it was a difficult moment for both of us. However, even in that moment, we found the strength to support each other. We talked about our emotions, shared our fears, and found comfort in each other's arms. We decided that we needed to keep looking for solutions and not give up in the face of obstacles. Months after our vacation, we were still struggling with the challenges and failures of conception. But there's another challenge we face every time we visit Jake's parents. My husband's mother, my mother-in-law, constantly criticizes me and hints about future grandchildren. Every time we go to visit her, I feel nervous and anxious. I know she expects us to lead a male family line and continue the family line. My mother-in-law often makes overt remarks about how long we've been married and what wonderful children her friends and acquaintances have. These words penetrate me and cause me pain and fear. Hello, How are you doing?
Hi, honey. We're doing fine. How are you? What's the news?
We're fine too. Thank you. Nothing much, just work and everyday stuff.
What about the grandchildren? Are you still undecided about having kids? I mean, it's been so long since you got married.
Yes, we're still trying. It's just taking longer than we expected.
Time? You've had enough time to figure out that you want a baby. Here, your father and I worked it out right away.
Well, we're just taking our time. We want everything to be in harmony.
Well, I hope you'll work it out soon after all. I'd like to see my grandchildren while I'm still young.
We're working on that. But parenthood is more than just having children. We want to make sure that we are ready for this responsibility and can provide a better life for our children.
You're always making something up. Apparently, there's something wrong with you.
I understand that you really want grandchildren, but this is a complicated situation, and we need time and support.
Okay. Keep trying and working on it. I hope it works out for you.
Jake and I decided not to tell our family about our conception problems just yet. We didn't want to expose ourselves to more criticism or unwanted advice. We understood that our decision would cause disappointment and possibly bewilderment, especially from my mother-in-law, who very much wanted grandchildren. However, this decision remained a heavy burden on our shoulders. I felt like I was cheating on my family, and I often agonized with guilt. But at the same time, I knew that telling them about our problem would only make things worse and cause more complications. We continued to support each other and look for solutions, leaving our doubts and inner struggles behind the closed doors of our home. When I hear my mother, in-law's words and her taunts, my heart shrinks with pain and frustration. I wish nothing more for myself and my husband than a happy family and children that we can love and raise. Every time I see my friends who are already mothers, I have mixed feelings. On the one hand, I am happy for them and genuinely happy to see how they find meaning and joy in their children. But there is a fire of jealousy inside me that I can't put out. I want that for me, too. I want to feel that connection with my child, to see my eyes in his eyes and feel the infinite love that only a parent can feel. Every time I look at my husband, I see his hidden pain and disappointment. I know that he wants to be a father just as much and that he is going through the same emotions that I am. He and I often talk about our feelings. We support each other, but sometimes words aren't enough anymore. We are on this journey together, and every obstacle makes us even closer. But even in the midst of all this frustration and hardship, I refuse to give up. I believe that our time will come, that we can be parents. I hold in my heart the hope and dream of having a family of my own. From the beginning of the struggle to conceive, my husband, Jake, has been determined and supportive. He was my support, my rock that I could cradle in difficult moments. We sought answers together, examined together, explored every possible treatment option. He was always there for me, ready to support me emotionally and physically. However, as time went on, and we continued to face setbacks, I noticed that Jake began to change. He was becoming more and more immersed in his work, putting it first. He was busy with his projects and was always in the office late into the night. I understood that work was a way for him to get away from our situation, the pain and frustration. When he had free time, he would spend it more and more with friends. Instead of discussing our situation and looking for new solutions, he would go to soccer games, ride his bike, or just go out for beers with friends. This irritated me and made me internally frustrated. It hurt me to see Jake drifting away from us and our dream of a family. We began to talk less about the future, about children, because it led to unpleasant emotions. Our struggle with infertility became a taboo that we both kept quiet about. Instead of supporting each other and looking for new ways, we became aloof. I tried to suggest to my husband various ways that I thought would help us fight infertility. I talked about the importance of eating right, taking vitamins, and living a healthy lifestyle. I suggested research and additional methods that could improve our chances of conceiving. However, every time I brought it up, my husband responded with a tearful and accusatory response. He claimed that all these efforts were useless and that we had already spent too much energy and money on figuring out the cause of our infertility. He called me neurotic and crazy, and told me it was all a waste of time. I tried to explain to him that my suggestions and concern for our health and future child were made with the best of intentions. I believed that improving our lifestyle could have a positive effect on our chances of conceiving. However, my words and concern were met with neglect and anger. I felt alone in this struggle, as if I were one of those abnormal people he was talking about. My hands began to droop. It was hard for me to accept my helplessness in this position. After all, almost every woman, even as a child, sees herself as a future mother. I kept thinking about what I would name our baby, how I would raise him, how I would dress and feed him. But my thoughts only added to my anxiety and depression. I didn't understand what I was in it for, and when it would end, or if it would end, or if it would end at all. From the moment my mother-in-law began to suspect that the reason for the lack of children in our family might be related to me, our relationship became even more strained. She began to implicate my husband, Jake, that he should find a new wife who could give him children. Here's how one of these dialogues between us might have played out.
Jake, you should already be thinking about your future. You and Sarah have been trying for years to have children, but nothing is working out. Maybe you should consider finding a new wife who can give you what you've wanted for so long.
Mom, it's not as easy as you think. Sarah and I have been through a lot, and we still love each other. I can't just leave her and find someone else.
I understand that you love Sarah, but you want to have a family, to have children. It's a natural desire in every man. Don't you want to have a child of your own to carry on your name?
Of course I dream of having a child to carry on our name. But it's not as easy as finding a new wife and hoping she can get pregnant. Sarah and I have been looking for answers, getting tested, but so far we haven't found a solution.
But Jake, honey, maybe we should still consider this possibility. We can't wait forever. I see Sarah suffering, and you don't deserve that. You deserve to have your own family.
Mom, I understand that you're worried about us and want to see me happy. But Sarah and I aren't ready to just leave each other and look for someone else.
You're too stubborn, Jake. Time goes by and you still don't have children. You have to think about your future and what you really care about.
In conversations like this, I saw my mother-in-law constantly pressuring my husband and insinuating that I was the cause of our infertility. She was trying to undermine our belief in our strength and love, and this made me feel even more insecure and inferior. But I stood my ground resolutely, supporting Jake and believing in our ability to overcome these difficulties together. The continued ridicule and criticism from my mother-in-law became more frequent and harsh. She didn't think about how her words could hurt me. She hurt me by calling me barren and an inferior wife, and by pointing out that I could not give Jake what he so desired. Children. I began to wonder if I really deserved love and happiness, if I couldn't give my husband what he craved. Often I would close my eyes and imagine our family filled with laughter and joy, walking together in the park or spending time at the beach. I dreamed of feeling my arms around our child's warm little body. But every time my mother-in-law attacked me with her harsh words, those dreams seemed unattainable and distant. Instead of taking my side and putting his mother in her place, he remained silent. His indifference and lack of response only increased my feelings of resentment and loneliness. My self-esteem and confidence suffered. I began to doubt my value as a wife and woman. My attempts to cope with the problem of infertility, my suggestions about healthy lifestyles and taking care of myself were all ignored and assessed as useless. Every day, I noticed that Jake was becoming more and more cold and distant toward me. He rarely showed his emotions and feelings, as if he shut himself off from me. I tried to get him to talk to me about what was going on, but he would just walk away or tell me he had too much work and was too tired. He came home late from work, often disappearing for hours at a time without an explanation. I noticed he was secretly talking on the phone and receiving messages, but he refused to tell me who was calling or writing. This only increased my suspicions and discomfort. One day, Jake apparently couldn't take it anymore and told me about his cheating. Everything inside me collapsed. Not only was I unable to have a baby, but I had lost the dearest man in my life. He betrayed me and all my dreams of our future with a full family. I've been through enough in my life, and he did this to me.
All these years, Sarah, I've suffered from not having a child in our family. I just couldn't wait any longer. It's your fault we don't have a son. You can't give me what I always wanted.
Jake's words hit me even harder. I felt anger and resentment, but a huge sense of guilt prevailed. Jake, that's not fair. We both knew about our conception problems, and I did the best I could. I offered treatment options. I supported you through every difficulty.
You're always looking for excuses, Sarah. But that doesn't change the fact that you can't give me a baby. I got tired of waiting and decided to look outside for it.
My knees buckled and I sank into the chair, feeling the strength leave my body. My hands trembled and tears streamed down my cheeks. I couldn't believe that my husband, who had once promised to love and protect me, was blaming me for not being able to bear him a son. I never suspected that you could do this to me, Jake. I have given you all my love and support, and you cheat on me and accuse me of something I have no control over. I don't know how to keep up this fight anymore.
Understand, Sarah. I will always look for what we don't have. If you can't give me a baby, then maybe I should look for a woman who can.
These words pierced me like a dagger. I felt my heart breaking into pieces. My dreams of a family and a happy life crumbled in an instant, leaving only bitterness and disappointment. I packed up my last things, filled my suitcases with tears and broken hopes. One last look at our shared apartment pierced my heart with bitterness and sadness. It was a place that witnessed our happy moments and dreams of a family that never came true. Closing the door behind me, I took a deep breath, trying to gather what strength I had left. I knew there was going to be a hard road to recovery and reliving the loss of our marriage. My second apartment had become my refuge, a place where I could try to gather my thoughts and heal my wounds. Even in the new space, however, my pain did not go away. Dreams about children and the sounds of happy family life haunted me day and night. I stumbled across pictures of happy parents with children on social media and on the street, and each time it reminded me of my inability to be a mother. When I informed my mother-in-law of my decision to leave Jake and start a new life, I didn't expect such a reaction. Instead of sympathy or support, I saw a smile on her face. Her eyes sparkled with joy, as if she had been waiting for this moment. Finally, Sarah, she said dismissively, "I always knew you wouldn't make it. You don't deserve to be with my son. Now I hope he finds a woman who can give him a child. You have never been able to fulfill your only responsibility as a wife." Her words hit me, causing pain and rage. I felt all the years of not understanding and criticism piling up and surfacing. After all that, I found the strength and went through a full course of psychotherapy, along with the support of my parents. After 2 years, I found myself in a whole new life. I found happiness and hope again. Having met a wonderful man who loved me and accepted me as I was, I decided to give my dream of motherhood another chance. And then one day, in a quiet corner of our home, I embraced my long-awaited son. This little miracle that was born of love and tenderness. Meanwhile, my husband never found a woman who could give him a child. He found himself in a void and realized that all his aspirations were wrong. Life took us down different paths, and I realized it was the best thing for me. I found strength and found myself outside the shadow of my mother-in-law and a marriage that had been full of resentment and disappointment. I became a mother, and my family now consists of loving and supportive people who appreciate me and my son.